I am terribly judgmental, and I pray every morning and ask God to remove that defect of character, because that's the only way I see it happening. You got a magic bullet?
There is a magic bullet for eliminating judgment from your life. And it is when you are asking God, remind yourself that you are really connected to God. You are really asking yourself. And that the ability to be non-judgmental is already there. It's not something that's going to come to you from outside of you, because you and God are one. So what you're doing is asking yourself to be what you know you can become. And in doing so, what you do is you start practicing, which is what I do, is start practicing that whole idea of the very first principle, a mind that is open to everything. Here is someone who is different than I am, speaking different than I am. And instead of, at the moment I catch myself sending the judgment, sending love in response to whatever it is, just always sending love. Yes?
My question is about letting go of resistance. That's where my work is right now. I'm really conscious and aware of my resistance, which I know is the way to releasing it. But I just love to hear you talk some more about it.
The way that I find myself moving past resistance always is through meditation. It's always through silence. If I can't figure it out, it's like no matter what it is, if I feel the resistance coming, it's and as I do this 2 or 3 times, I start feeling myself getting lighter, and resistance just passes. It's almost like it's a way of leaving your body, because resistance is all in the physical world. Resistance is the source of problems. And when you let go, you're letting God. And bringing God in through japa is a really fast and beautiful way. And even if I feel short of breath, or I feel a pain, or whatever it might be, any kind of physical thing, it's the process of letting go. Japa. When I've said on the PBS special, you may have heard me, whenever I call Deepak and ask him about any problem I ever have, his response is, meditate. Meditate. I'll say, but Deepak, I've got the other. He said, meditate. Because it's always making conscious contact. And you might want to make a list of, or you might want to go through all of the people who have harmed you in any way. The parents who behaved in the ways that they did, the children who don't respect you, the spouse who walked out on you, the person who borrowed money from you and has never paid it back, the person who sued you and you had put you through all of those all of that, whatever you do. And I've told the story before of a time in my life when I had a lawsuit imposed upon me for the only time in my life by a woman who had spent 15 years in a mental institution, and who decided that what I had written about and spoken about on the radio was the cause of her mental illness. And she got an attorney to take that case. And it was thrown out in what they call a summary judgment, and they appealed the summary judgment. So they continued to keep this wound festering. And I spent a couple of years being concerned about my reputation. It was before I really stopped caring about things like that. This goes back 20 or so years. Now if somebody wants to say that I was the cause of the mental illness, I'll say, well, I'm listening to that. You know, that's an interesting point of view. I never thought of that before. Maybe I did. And also when you turn 60, you stop caring what other people think anyway, I think. But at any rate, I carried that around, and I hired an attorney, and I spent a lot of money, and I was angry at this particular person for doing all of this and so on. And then I remember in a meditation just saying, I'm through with all of this. I called my attorney. I said, I'm not paying any more money for this. I'm not giving it any more energy whatsoever. None. I refuse to participate in it. I'll just ignore it. And they can make all the threats they want. They can say anything they want. It's an absurdity, and I won't play the game anymore. And I then started in my meditations to surround this particular person with love. Just as much light and love as I could possibly get to this person. And I did it in the morning, I did it in the afternoon, I did it in the evening, and I tried to imagine with some compassion that I didn't have before what it must be like to live in a mental institution for 15 years, and how terrible and awful that was being. Instead of thinking about me and what was happening to me, I began to put love toward this person. And I had flowers sent to her, and I sent some books. And on the third day after I started practicing this, the lawsuit was dropped. So it was again one of those lessons. Everything I think that I go through in my life is always a lesson. And almost every struggle that I've ever gone through has taught me to be a little less blaming, a little more forgiving, a little more compassionate, a little kinder, always. It seems to work that way. So now when those crappy things start showing up in my life, I just stop telling myself that this shouldn't be happening, and I go into that place where I say, what's the lesson here? What do I have to learn? And I can help it to go away and attract into my life something different. Forgiveness is the essence of higher consciousness and spirituality. If you want to understand, there are no justified resentments.